whether you are paving paths or building bridges, it's always good to start with a good breakfast. So I'm going to share with you a story called Family Breakfast. It's a story from when I was a little boy. You see, Mother Maybelle, in her big old country kitchen back in North Carolina, she would say, you can have anything you want for breakfast. And here we are in her big old country kitchen, and it's smoky, and it smells like bacon, which is always a good thing. And she was making those little round circles because she was making little salmon croquettes to fry up for breakfast. I mean, she says, breakfast means breaking the fast. You haven't slept. You haven't eaten all night while you were sleeping. So whatever you eat to break the fast, that's breakfast. So breakfast could be fish, or salmon croquettes, or ham, or bacon, or chicken. And all kind of things like we can have rice, and grits, and oatmeal, and pancakes, and waffles. And what I really liked most about the family breakfast was that a lot of the products that we had for breakfast, they had images of people on those products. And those people were like family to me. Some of them even had family names like Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben. And then there are family friends, like there was the nice Quaker guy who was a friend of the family. And then you can't have your pancakes and your waffles without butter. And there's a little Native American girl who came with the butter. And we'd always sitting around and we would be talking about life and sharing, and they asked me how I was doing in school and what was I learning back and forth, and it was just really great, this family breakfast. And sometimes we talk about how things were changing. And it's like, well, those kind of things where somebody would yell out their window or maybe pick up the phone and call and say, black people on TV. And all of a sudden it's like, there's Diana Ross on the television show. There's Jackson 5 on Dick Clark. Or maybe that episode of Dick Van Dyke when Bob and Laura Petrie had a black family in their home. Things were changing. But it's not about things changing. There were also people who were complaining about my family. I mean, I would have Uncle Ben, Aunt Jemima, the Quaker guy, the Native American girl, and we just would sit around and talk and share together and enjoy life and understand one another. But says, those aren't good pictures. Those aren't good representations. They represent a time of sadness, a time of enslavement, a time of oppression. But for me, it was family. But they say, yeah, it does reflect the enslaved heritage. It does reflect racism. But they're family. We're getting along now. And after a while, things did start to change. One thing that changed was the company, Aunt Jemima, decided they'll go to the hairdresser. And around 1989, all of a sudden, Aunt Jemima, who sort of depicted a enslaved person, but to me it sort of made me think about my family down south. I was a big city boy in D.C., but I felt their dress didn't look like that down south. But they sent, Aunt Jemima showed up one time and she had a new hairdo. Hair was pressed, it was curled up on the end. She had little pearl earrings, and she had lace around her neck. And she looked like right pretty, sort of like my mom or some of my teachers. I said, that's pretty good. Maybe you will leave us alone now and just let us continue to have our family breakfasts together. But ties kept going on about these bad images, the negative thought, the poor representation, these kind of things. Things were changing. If we're going to have a more perfect union, we have to accept these things. That sometimes put a little sadness on the breakfast, but we really love getting together in spite of all those things that were going on. Then a few years ago, when this crazy disease was going all across America, all across the world, this hatred seemed to brew in many nations and many people and many communities, and people just weren't getting along. People were fighting and arguing about just about everything, but we still would have breakfast together, and we got along just fine. And then George Floyd was murdered by that policeman, and the earth shook. The earth shook. Suddenly people were talking in different ways, saying, maybe now is the time to make some changes. Maybe we can do things more fairly. Maybe we can sit along and get along together. And then all of a sudden, people started disappearing. Uncle Ben's gone. Aunt Jemima's gone. I understand it was for good reason. What about representation? The little Native American girl is gone. You wonder why? The Quaker guy, he's still there. That gives you something to think about. But I do think if more of us would sit down with more of them, whoever them are, and have breakfast, the world would be a much better place.